Hello, this video is going to focus on Sanford Harmony Lesson 3.1, Part 1. In this video, we're going to talk all about bloopers. Believe it or not, we all do make mistakes, and today we're going to focus on those bloopers and figure out ways on how we can resolve those bloopers. Here are 4 common bloopers that typically happen. They are ignoring, interrupting, withdrawing, and controlling. And when these 4 bloopers occur, it becomes very difficult to have a positive conversation with somebody and communicate in a positive way with other people. So what do these 4 words really mean? So interrupting means stopping someone in the middle of what he or she might be doing or saying. And an example would be when someone is excited about an idea and interrupts a group member to share it. Another blooper is controlling. That means deciding the direction of the group without considering others' perspectives. So that means you're deciding to do something and you don't really think about the other people around you and how that will affect them. An example of this is a group member may act bossy, feeling that he or she knows the best way to accomplish the task. Another blooper is ignoring. That means failing to recognize other group members' needs or perspectives. A group member is focused on completing the task and ignores another member's request for help. Withdrawing is the last blooper we're going to talk about today. That means removing oneself mentally or physically from the group's task. So that means you're leaving that conversation. You've just had enough and you're just stepping away. An example of this means a group member stops participating in the task after others ignore his or her ideas or requests for help. Now, believe it or not, all of these bloopers we do see, they do exist in our society. We all do make mistakes, and that is okay. Sometimes it becomes difficult to prevent those mistakes from happening. However, we're going to learn strategies today that will help prevent bloopers from occurring because it's unnecessary when these things happen. And when these things do happen, it causes a lot of controversies and conflicts. And our goal here is to prevent those conflicts from occurring. So being aware of these bloopers and being aware of what interrupting, controlling, ignoring, withdrawing really means will help you communicate in a much positive manner and hopefully make even more friends if we choose to stop having these bloopers happen when you are socializing with people. So what can we do? Well, these are communication boosters. So we learned about those bloopers. We now recognize what bloopers are. We recognize the mistakes that we may or may not make. But regardless, it's important to also recognize the appropriate ways that you should be communicating with people. So those are called my boosters. That's doing the right thing. That's communicating in a positive way. We like people who can show that they can communicate in a positive way because it makes that conversation much more positive and hopefully that you leave that conversation feeling good about yourself and feeling happy. So what are these boosters? Well, we have listening as our first one. It's always important to listen. Listening and responding to group members' ideas and questions. An example of this is a group member listens and responds to the group's ideas because of interest in learning from others. So when you're in class and you do have group work, it's always nice to work with group members who listen to each other's ideas. You talk about different ideas and you're communicating in a positive way because everybody in your group is listening to one another. Facilitating. That means providing the group with leadership that takes into consideration other members' needs and perspectives. An example of this is a group member suggests ideas and seeks opinions from others to help focus on accomplishing the task. So that's great when we have that group member who's putting in suggestions. Everybody's listening to those suggestions. You're seeking opinions from other people. So you're asking for help. You're asking for some more ideas because you're communicating in a positive way. Another booster is called negotiating. That's problem solving. And this is something everybody can focus on, is figuring out how to become a problem solver. So problem solving or compromising when there is a disagreement or conflict within the group. So unfortunately, those disagreements, those conflicts, they may occur. But we always have to think back to these boosters and think about how can you fix that blooper and what is the booster that you could be using to fix the blooper. So maybe coming to a compromise when a disagreement occurs, when helping to solve that problem will make that group activity go really, really smoothly. An example of negotiating is when a group member disagrees with another and suggests a compromise so both can follow through on their ideas. This is an amazing thing. When we see this happen and people are part of this, you will feel wonderful about yourself that you were able to come to a compromise. Both ideas happen at the same time. Both people can stick with their ideas because you were able to problem solve and come to a compromise. And our last booster is supporting, encouraging and supporting group members when they need help or become discouraged. It is always an excellent idea to support and encourage the people around you. You cheer them on, you motivate them, and you encourage them to complete the task. And you let them know that you're there helping them through this difficult challenge. And an example of this is a group member doesn't understand something being discussed, and another member stops the group to provide an explanation before proceeding with the task. This is another example of a very positive and excellent communication skill, being able to recognize when somebody is having a hard time, but you are also able to recognize that and help them through that difficult time or help them through that challenge by stopping what you're doing and supporting them and encouraging them. Now, these boosters, listening, facilitating, negotiating, supporting, are really important to understand because when those bloopers do happen, I hope that you look back to these boosters and figure out, well, how can I fix that blooper? What booster can I use? Or maybe what booster should I always have been using to prevent that blooper from occurring? So it's always important to look back at these boosters and keep them in mind as you're communicating with other people, whether you're online typing to somebody or whether you're talking face to face to someone. It's the same communication skills. You should always recognize and make sure that you're listening, you're facilitating, you're negotiating, and you're supporting, because it's much nicer having a positive communication and conversation with somebody if you can follow these. You will feel good about yourself, the task will be completed, and you will be successful if you choose to follow these boosters. Now, lastly, in a world where you can be anything, be kind by following those boosters on the previous page. They all fall under the category of being kind. Be mindful of the things that you say to people. Be mindful of what you are doing in your daily activities. And always remember, in a world where you can be anything, please be kind.